Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the little bell on the side, so once we have all the updates and news, just like today, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. So, there has been a lot of comment, message, information being passed around in regards to the international vaccination certificates. So obviously, we have learned over the past month that the nation of Australia is ready to open its border. Now, obviously, the first phase will be welcoming all the international traveler for Australian citizens and permanent residents only to travel in and out of Australia, but obviously we have got into the situation of pandemic, so vaccination is the key to actually get you on board onto the flight. So there has been information and instruction. Now in this video I will take a detailed look and explanations and also some of the FAQ with you together, so you have full understanding and knowledge of what is required when you need to travel internationally. Alright, let's jump into it first, have a look. Now, everyone can search this. Just go to Google and type in guidance on foreign vaccination certificates. So obviously, and that will also give you the instruction on the internal Australian domestic vaccination. Obviously, you will be registered with your Medicare. So how would this all work? Let's go through it. So as Australian border progressively reopens on the 1st of November 2021, more favorable entry may apply to certain arrival passenger travelers who can be fully vaccinated, who prove that they are fully vaccinated. To benefit of arrangement, travelers vaccinated in Australia will need to present their Australian International Covid-19 Vaccination Certificate. Traveler vaccinated in other countries will be able to present their certificate in the format meeting of the following. So there is no mandatory of such QR code, whatever is required at this point of time. I've done my research. I don't seem to be checking them on the QR code format. You can, but you need to get back to Australia in order to get that done and register under MyGov, under the Medicare and Centrelink system. But if you're overseas, what you need to do, and if your vaccination was done overseas, then you need to have this certificate showing that issued by national or state provincial level authority accredited vaccination provider, and written English accompanied by a certain certified translations and contain generally these certificate would have English embedded in them. But if you do if you're in some countries that it doesn't provide you the English format or translation on the side, make sure you get translated too. So you need to contact a NATI translator to get translated. So it should appear with a name or with your passport numbers, either date of birth or passport number up there, a vaccination brain, and the date that you've been vaccinated or immunization has been completed. And the paper or digital format equally acceptable. Some country take digital format, some country use paper format. It really depends. So they all the government of Australia recognize either the traveller qualified for fully vaccinated certificate must show vaccine approved by recognized Australian Therapeutic Goods and Administration (TGA) with the following. So 2 doses at least 14 days apart. So if 2 doses were done 13 days apart, that's not going to be acceptable. So AstraZeneca and AstraZeneca Covishield, that's for the Indians vaccination. Pfizer, BNT, Moderna, and also Sinovac from China, and all 1 dose. If you perhaps you're in USA, you only need to take 1 Janssen COVID vaccine. A traveler will not be considered fully vaccinated unless at least 7 days. So the last day of your second jab or the Janssen vaccine, it has to be 7 days apart since you have been vaccinated. Then you'll be able to be qualified for this one, be eligible on this one. The TGA is continuing evaluating all the other brands. They should have more information there soon. Now, this one doesn't say if you're not vaccinated, you cannot travel. You still can if you're a permanent resident or Australian citizen, but then you need to take a 14 days quarantine hotel as a mandatory require for arrival. So you're still can. It doesn't mean you cannot. It's just saying if you have these ones, then it will be more convenient after your arrival in Australia. Okay, the next page is International COVID Vaccine Certificate. So it's the short term is ICVC. Okay, so if you want to search ICVC, now at this point in time, from what I can see, is you can only register through your Medicare account, which is the app that you can download into your smartphone, and using Express Plus Medicare mobile app and go to Service Australia. So meaning that it's only available for Australian citizen, permanent resident, and there are some visa holders can do it, but I'll show you where to go. Okay, it's actually very complicated in a way. It doesn't seem to be as smooth as it can, but I think the government of Australia diplomatic office around the world, different countries, they are negotiating in a systematic way to make things easier. But if you cannot get this ICVC done, you can still present whatever the format of the vaccination certificate issued by whatever country that is, and still allow you to travel as per the guidance here, the previous page. Okay, so you're not required to actually get this onto your phone, but if you can get it onto your phone, obviously that's an easier way to do so. I think there's going to be more instruction coming out for further travelers, because at this stage we can only see the instruction are given predominantly to the international traveler who are Australian citizen or Australian permanent resident. As you can see, here is with the image of a phone and the QR code there. Now this is currently, I think it's only for again Australian permanent resident and Australian citizen. So international COVID-19 Vaccination Certificate, so ICVC, if you want to search that. I think UK is taking the same approach, and I think the rest of the world will actually get this all synchronized in a way, but it's still in the negotiation stage. Every country and territory decide who can enter or leave through its border. Foreign government may need evidence of COVID-19 vaccination test of you before you can be entered. The Australian issue, the ICVC, here we go, that's the acronym. You may learn that and get that into your brain, because that will be the term in the future. Is the free and secure way to prove COVID vaccination history. And how do you get this? I'll take you to that page, okay, which is right down here. How to get this. Again, as you can see, you're required to download Medicare, but look, Medicare is only for Australian permanent resident and Australian citizens. So that means if you're not a permanent resident or Australian citizen, downloading Medicare solely won't help, because you cannot get anything there. There are some people who require to travel if you want to go through, but you need to be, if you got vaccine in Australia detail added to AIR, you need to go to AIR to get that linked up to your the Medicare's app. So it's not an easy way, but you still have to do it. If you got vaccinated overseas, you need to get them recorded on your AIR before you can get a certificate. So meaning that and the second sentence is only an Australian medical professional in Australia can add records into AIR. Ask your GP. So that means if you're overseas, for example, if you're an Australian citizen in UK or USA and you get vaccinated, obviously how do you contact GP, because you're not in Australia? So at this stage, you will then travel by presenting whatever the national issue of that country, the vaccine certificate or whatever, and show that while you enter into Australia. And once you enter into Australia, then you will contact AIR, stands for Australian Immunization Register, and get that registered into yourself into Medicare. Then your Medicare will show that this thing on your phone. Okay. The check local requirement, the destination you're going, term and public health requirement. Some destinations don't exempt your stay. Still need you to get quarantine. For example, China. I think wherever you arrive, they will get you into a quarantine hotel. Well, not hotel. They build those facilities just to do this. Have different policies in Australia and need evidence of negative test. That's a PCB, or I think PCB test. If I got that wrong, anyway, you know what it is. Just a test that you're negative of COVID virus in you. And next page, let's have a look. How do I get international? How do I get ICVC? The easy way to get ICVC, as you can see, I've done a very detailed research on this because I want to find out as well. How do I get this? How do I get this thing? So the easy way is to get this is you need to go through your again. So meaning if you're not in Australia, you're Australian, or you're Australian citizen or Australian permanent resident, you present your whatever the certificate issued by the country where you at, and once you arrive in Australia, then you contact the AIR, the Australian Immunization Register, and then get that recorded into the system. So that's where you need to contact. What if I'm not eligible for Medicare? Here we go. Okay, so if you are a foreigner of Australia and you're not eligible for Medicare, you need an individual healthcare identifier to get your international. That is actually gonna be more complicated than just present the whatever the certificate that you have. So the Service Australia will make a possible future. So here we go. In the future, for IHI holder to get international certificate through MyGov. In meantime, you will need to visit Service Australia to contact. Oh, so this is for if you're a temporary visa holder and you're not Australian citizen and you're not Australian permanent resident. So obviously you're not eligible for Medicare because you're not Australian citizen in Australia. Then you will need to contact Service Australia. Services Australian Service Centre. Why two services there? Anyway, to get this IHI done, so that is equivalent to the certificate of vaccination certificate that issued by Australian authority. So you can take that travel back to whatever the country that you wanted to go back for. So that is what it's for. So at this stage, we can see that the whole process is only designed at this point in time for Australian citizen and Australian permanent resident only. Now, last but not least, some FAQ. Let's go through the eligibility of international COVID vaccination certificate. Who can get this? Okay, anyone registered on Australian immunization register. So anyway, I've gone through that. So that's it. If you're overseas, sorry, you can't do that at this point in time. What if I was vaccinated overseas? Here we go. If you were vaccinated overseas, you can register with AIR once you return to Australia so that you can get international certificate. It's quite stupid, isn't it? But if you cannot, so obviously that will mean you don't need to get it registered in AIR in order for you to travel back to Australia, because this can only register once you are back in Australia. So at the time when you travel, you will be holding other nationals vaccination certificate in order to show a proof that you have been vaccinated. If you need a proof vaccinated prior your return, you may be able to get vaccinated certificate from the country in which you're vaccinated. So here we go. That's the answer there. I've got that answer for you earlier in this video. Can I use foreign passport to get international? Yes, you can. How you do this depends on whether you have Australian visa. So again, you can be, for example, you can hold an Indian passport, you can hold a UK passport, you can hold a USA passport, Japanese passport, and you're an Australian permanent resident. So obviously you're eligible for Medicare. then obviously you use Medicare number to actually get your AIR recorded, and obviously you have that there. What if you have convention travel document or certificate of identity? If you have an Australian convention travel document or certificate of identity following instruction holder of Australian passport, so that's a different kind of other for other kind of travelers. What if you don't have a valid passport? Oh, how do you buy air ticket then? You will need a valid passport to travel. So I think this is a dumb question. If you don't have a passport, how do you, unless you travel by boat, illegal immigrants? Anyway, I don't think for Australia it's gonna be quite hard. Anyway, I think we'll skip that one because you don't have a passport. We can buy an air ticket. How do you get to Australia? Okay, what if I hold multiple passports? Some people do hold dual citizenships. Each international certificate include passport number in your name. When you present a certificate, you will normally have present passport. If you have multiple passports, you can get multiple certificates. So you have one certificate of each passport. So it depends on different nations' requirements. So you can have a U.S. passport and also have a certificate that the U.S. government will recognize. And you can have another Australian passport that you have ICVC, or UK passport have another ICVC. You can have multiple of them. So ICVC is not, in other words, it's not, you can have multiple ICVC, in other words, for different countries' requirement. Anyway, okay, when will I need a new international COVID-19 vaccination certificate? Your ICVC will not expire, but you will need to request a new one if you receive additional vaccination. If you plan to travel to a new different passport, make sure, or different name, for example, probably just get a renewed vaccination certificate. Anyway, lose or damage your international certificate. Okay, if it's digital, how do you damage? Anyway, so that basically answers for paper form certificate. I've got a domestic proof immunization. Do I still need international certificate? Yes, because if you want to go overseas, so it's only for, this is very important if you are in Australia right now. If you're in Australia right now, it will be mandatory for you to get this AIR registered so you can travel overseas. You see what I mean? But if you are not in Australia, obviously you will hold other nations' vaccination certificate, then you can travel back. So once you arrive back to Australia, make sure you get that recorded. So that's how the whole system will work, and then they will continue to develop for other travelers in the future. Compare immunization history statement and digital certificates. If you have any additional vaccination, I've already got an ICVC, perhaps in UK. Even though I've only one dose. What is it? Was that a mistake? Doesn't mean I'm fully vaccinated. Receiving international certificate does not by itself prove that you're required by any other country, including Australia and other fully vaccinated. The certificate lists your vaccine history, no matter how many doses you had, whether history meets public health requirement or country you visit. So it really depends on which country how they treat the certificate. Can I get an ICVC if I am not vaccinated? You can only get international certificate if you receive at least one dose. Okay, if you haven't received any dose, you should check the official government website of country that you're traveling for more information. Okay, generally is what I just said. If you're not vaccinated, you can still travel if you do have the right visa, perhaps permanent residency visa, or you're a citizen of Australia, and then you will be heading into a mandatory 14 days quarantine period. So that's it. You still can travel. It doesn't mean you cannot. You still can travel. What if I have a contradiction to the vaccine? International certificate is a verifiable record of your vaccination history. It is not designed to use as evidence of contradiction. If you have a contradiction, meaning that you cannot be immunized against for health reason, you seek advice for your airline and from your destination country about your documentation required. You may be asked to provide a letter from your doctor certifying that you cannot receive the vaccination for health reasons. So see, you still can travel without vaccination, but for health reason, make sure you have a doctor's certificate or doctor's statement saying about your situation, and obviously you need to present that at the border when you enter into Australia. So last question: what if I recently recovered from COVID? So you have been contracted with COVID and you are recovered. If you recently recovered, it may be that you cannot receive that vaccination period following recovery. The ICVC's verifiable record of your vaccine history is not designed for your recovery or health reasons. So in this situation, again, you need to get a letter or advice from a doctor. So you need to you can show that upon your arrival at the border of Australia, or perhaps if you're traveling out, you need to show that to the border of that country's at the gate of the airport. Anyway, well, it's very good that we finally have Australians, a nation had moved somewhere. It's no longer a fortress. Australia is looking to open up its gate. Obviously, there's a lot of systems to be implemented and a lot of procedure to be gone through. But look, it's a good news for everyone, although it's more complicated to travel offshore nowadays compared to 2 or 3 years ago in the past. But at least we are one step moving forward. Anyhow, should you have more question or query, more than welcome to leave a comment right down below, and I see you next video. Goodbye.